The Oldsmobile 442, America's underrated muscle legend. There's a rhythm to American muscle car history, and somewhere between the rumble of a big block engine and the cool confidence of 1960s design sits the Oldsmobile 442, a machine built for the drivers who wanted a little more punch, a little more sound, and a whole lot more personality. The story begins in 1964 when Oldsmobile took a mid-size Cutlass and added a performance package so bold it needed a name to match. They called it the 442, which originally stood for 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed manual transmission, and dual exhaust. That's right, the name itself was a stats sheet. But the 442 wasn't meant as a gimmick. It was built to compete with the Pontiac GTO in what was becoming a horsepower arms race. Oldsmobile engineers went all in, creating a car that surprised critics. Early reviews praised its power, sound, handling, and style, earning it the nickname the gentleman's muscle car. By 1968, the 442 became its own standalone model, and this is where things got wild. The available Herstuck Olds edition dropped in like a thunderclap, packing a massive 455 cubic inch engine that pushed well past the GM 400 cubic inch limit for midsize cars. Oldsmobile got around the rules by letting Hurst do the dirty work, making the Hurst Olds models some of the sneakiest rule-bending machines in muscle car history. Fun fact, that 455 engine made enough torque to pull a house off its foundation. Okay, not literally, but at 500-plus pound-feet of torque, it sure felt like it. As the 1970s rolled in, the 442 peaked with the legendary 1970 model, often considered the best of the best. That year, the 442 could be ordered with the W30 package, which gave it a fiberglass hood, functional ram air scoops, aluminum intake manifold, and a 0 to 60 time that punched straight through the muscle car elite. It became one of the fastest production Oldsmobiles ever made. Another fun fact, the 1970 W30's red plastic inner fenders weren't just for style. They were designed to reduce weight and resist rust. Oldsmobile engineers were ahead of their time. But like all giants of the muscle era, emissions regulations and gas crises hit hard. By the mid-70s, the power dipped, the fuel economy nudged upward, and the 442 became more of a sporty trim package than a fire-breathing beast. Still, the badge survived all the way into the 1980s, with the 1985 to 1987 442 OS gaining a cult following today. They weren't the monsters of the 70s, but they had attitude, especially with the lightning rod shifter on the Hurst Olds G-bodies, one of the most unusual and iconic shifter setups of the era. Fun fact, those lightning rod shifters were originally designed for drag racers to manually control each gear for maximum speed. But they ended up being one of the coolest interior flexes of the 1980s. Today, the Oldsmobile 442 lives on as a symbol of American muscle done differently. Not flashy like a Charger, not wild like a Mustang, the 442 was balanced, bold, refined, and brutally powerful when it needed to be. A sleeper with swagger, a legend with a legacy. For collectors, the 442 remains a treasure, especially the 1968 to 1972 models, the W30s, and any Hurst Olds editions with that unmistakable gold and white paint. And for muscle car lovers, the 442 still represents something deeper. A time when engineers broke rules, horsepower ruled the streets, and every press of the accelerator told a story. The Oldsmobile 442, it wasn't just a car, it was a statement.